Hello, everybody. This is Noah and John, and we are with UrbanDigs. And Johnny, we are talking Manhattan today, and we got Alexander Boriskin over at Elliman, Michael Lorber Team co-founder, one of the city's top producing realtors, has a decade at Elliman, and he's overseen more than 2 billion in
With a B.
sales. Yeah, with a B, a lot of new development. So this guy does a ton of production, and we got him to ourselves for 15 minutes today. And Alexander, I'm going to go right into this and not waste any time. And everyone wants to know what's going on in this very mysterious, what is the state of the New York City real estate marketplace today?
Well, first, let me just say it's great to be here. I'm a very big fan of the both of you. Great platform that I use every day. I just want to put that out there so everybody knows.
Awesome.
I stand behind it. Your question is a good one. There's no short answer. That's the only problem. The state of the market really depends on price point, location, product, and kind of a host of other things. So, we should chop it up and kind of attack the question that way.
Let's look at new devs. Tell me what's going on there.
Okay, interesting time to ask about that. A lot of new devs have been getting absorbed lately, which also could be said for the resale market, but specifically new devs. A lot of the product that's out there, there are a lot of buyers at the moment and not a lot of inventory across the board. So a lot of the stuff that maybe have been sitting around for a little bit, it's getting absorbed. There's a lot of good stuff. There are a couple of buildings that have been selling really well that are kind of new, just in the beginning of their sales kind of cycle. And then again, we've seen other product that was built a little bit earlier, but has been getting absorbed.
So let me ask you.
Sorry, John. Sorry, John. I
Go
apologize.
ahead,
I want to squeeze one question in.
Yeah.
Concessions on develop, no inventory. Are there any concessions going on, even with stuff that's selling, or that's now gone away these days?
Yeah, so it depends on the building. There are just a few which really are, full ask. Maybe you're lucky if you can get transfers or half transfers. And then there are, of course, some where the developers are, open to negotiating on both selling price and some concessions as well.
Interesting. And let me ask, are there differences in neighborhoods? Because you talk about this, the sort of the shortage of inventory, especially in that luxury new dev sector. And I'm curious if that's translating into differences in the neighborhoods.
Yeah, so, we're seeing a lot of really nice new devs on the Upper East Side. The neighborhood's certainly gotten really hot lately. In addition to all the new devs, you have a lot of restaurants and some private members clubs and good retail that's coming to the area, which is, I think, helping that. They're playing off of each other. But again, like the product that's really in demand, for example, in that neighborhood is basically something that looks and feels like a Park Avenue co-op, but it's a condo and has all the shiny amenities. That's been a hot seller.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. I think we did an article with Curb and we talked, and I think they termed them Faux-Ops, right? They're condos, but they look like they were built 100 years ago. They got the high ceilings, they have a million windows, all that thing. So that's an interesting point. Yes, those are sprouting up. Naftali is a great example. They've got several in here, and I understand they're doing quite well.
They're doing really well, yeah, and he's really figured out a nice place in the market for himself. That's a product that people want. A lot of those buildings are having success selling pre-construction, which unfortunately those days are long gone for a lot of other buildings. A lot of people want to see it, touch it, feel it, walk it. They don't have the pressure where, I'm going to wait too long and it's going to sell out. It's not that market anymore. There are a few buildings that are still in that kind of really lucky position because great product, great neighborhood, a lot of demand. So a few buildings still are able to sell way before they even start construction. And a lot of them actually have a lot of success either selling out or coming very close to selling out. For example, like the Surrey did really well. They have one apartment left. Nobody has closed in that building yet. Armani, for example, again, Upper East Side, Madison Avenue, condo, great location, of course. Nice product, good product. Again, that building sold out before they even had their first closing. And there's a really great building coming downtown on the water, no pricing yet, very soon if you know the right people. And I expect them to do extremely well. They have a long list of very good brokers who have real buyers who are ready to buy as soon as they get the opportunity.
It seems like there's a lot of motivated, ready, willing, and able buyers just kind of sitting and waiting out there. Is that the sense you get right now?
Yeah. The buyers are out there. Buyers who've been out there for a while are actually now ready to transact. And there are a lot of new buyers who are also ready to transact.
Okay. We'll get into buyers in a second. I just
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
finish off this state of the market. What about building level differences? What are you seeing on that front?
In terms of quality,
Quality, is pre-war still getting hammered? Is any amenities selling? I mean, generally speaking, I
yeah,
guess.
for new product, amenities are certainly selling. Unless you're a boutique condo, you're doing a large amenity package, right? So, gym, at this point, a lot of buildings doing pools, steam room, sauna, a bunch of other things. So amenities are selling. The pre-war market has picked up a lot. The demand is there. Also, the pre-war market is really the co-op market. So I feel like a lot of buyers are seeing the value there, right? A lot of those prices have come down. You're seeing things selling now, which are gut renovated, that people bought, top of the market 2015 to 2017, did gut renos, and now they're selling. Unfortunately, those people are taking a big loss, a lot of them, but the buyer is getting a great deal.
Well, Alexander, let me ask you about the buyers. Who are the buyers these days? Where are they kind of coming from? And what are the things that they're actively bidding up for?
Yeah, so we're seeing, and this isn't just today, this has been over the last couple of years, we're seeing a lot of US buyers. They're really giving this market a big push. We still have international buyers, but not like we used to. Again, the US buyer has been buying a lot, and they've also been buying a lot of trophy properties, a lot of high-end, luxury market over 4 million. The co-op buyer, especially when we're talking, Upper East, Upper West Side, that's going to be your US buyer, because a lot of those buildings, they don't allow pied-à-terres. International buyers aren't, buying there, just don't want to, because you have to disclose everything. And again, if your money is, out of the country, a lot of those boards, they don't look at that as kind of what they want in their building. So to answer your question, again, a lot of US buyers, and, not just, of course, New York buyers, they want to stay in New York or have a footprint in New York, but we have a lot of people from, and this is from personal experience, Florida, Aspen, Chicago, California, these kind of like cities where the real estate market is expensive. And those buyers either want to move here full time, or they just want to have something in New York City. A lot of people argue that New York City is becoming, the largest secondary home market.
Interesting. I imagine that you work primarily in the luxury sector, or at least do a lot of your deals in the luxury sector. I mean, could you just give me any color on, are you still seeing something like 65% cash deals that are going on out there?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, our team, we have, a lot of people on it, and this is a huge misconception. I'm glad you brought it up. I always like to remind everyone that we work in every price point. I hate to lose business because someone doesn't think that I want to, work in the 1 to 3 or whatever price point. With that said, we are seeing the bulk of the deals either all cash or non-contingent. But of course, a lot of the first-time home buyers, or I would say 2.5 and below, are still financing and asking for those contingencies.
Okay, so now this is really interesting, because I've got a question now. I'm gonna transfer to sellers, because this really touches all price points at the same time, and that's aspirational overpriced sellers. I mean, they're out there, and like I said, they exist across the spectrum of prices. Alexander, how do you handle them? How do you, especially in this market, which is so divergent between what's happening in the non-luxury and what's happening in the luxury in terms of the demand shift? And I'm wondering, how do you handle those overpriced sellers, the aspirational ones?
So when I meet with someone, I obviously, show them the comps, thanks to you guys. I tell them about what's happening in the market, specifically also in their neighborhood, right? Because the market is very building specific, but especially neighborhood specific. So we go over all of that. And again, sometimes the seller wants to either disagree with you or kind of hope that they'll get lucky. I try my best not to take on any overpriced listings. But if someone does not give me a choice, I tell them, look, this is a marriage that we're entering. And if it's going to take you some time to get to a place where the market is going to transact, I want us to do this together. I want you to stay faithful to me, and we'll continue talking. We'll look at what happens every week, how many inquiries, what the traffic is like. Both.
It's not my fault, kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just very open about, look, I advise against this. If you want to try it, we'll do this together. But you don't want to be the broker, and there's so many great brokers that this happens to, where you overprice something when you told the client it should be priced 30% less, and then they fire you and they go with the next broker, and the next broker comes in and, hey, I've been on the other side and it's great to be on the other side of it. You're coming in, you get this beautiful reduction, you sell the apartment in 1 or 2 weeks, and you're a hero. And really, that's what they should have done, 6 months before, 9 months before, whatever it is. So I really, really do my best to have that conversation and just to explain that we're in this for the long run together. You can't leave me.
What about generally sellers' mindsets? Are they generally realistic? Are they hard to work with? Are they a lot of them still aspirational and expecting something, that's the market can't provide, or just any color there?
Most sellers that I deal with are pretty reasonable and realistic. You have some sellers that are kind of seeing where the market is going, to like, hey, look, there are a lot of buyers out there. There's not a ton of inventory. I want to be the listing that, gets the market to bump up. I want to be the new comp.
Yep.
So again, very product specific. Sometimes because it's such a good product, I say, look, I really think we could achieve this number. The comps don't support it, but I just know from firsthand, there's so many people who want to be in this building, and that there is someone out there that wants it so much that they're willing to, maybe overpay, and they see it as that they're fine with setting the new comp with their purchase.
Right. Okay. Where are the deals?
No
Alexander?
deals.
No deals.
Yeah, it's a tough conversation to have. Someone calls and says, hey, someone give me information. I'm looking to buy something and I want like this major steal. The truth is, those are just in this market really, really hard to find. A while back, the deals were something that needs a full gut renovation, but a lot of those listings, one, have been reduced enough to where a buyer feels good about buying them, or now the sellers that are coming on with them are like, hey, I get what this is worth. And also the fear of the code renovation has really decreased. So a lot of buyers now are more comfortable going in, renovating, pricing. Those delays are no longer really around like they used to be. And again, if you see a price that you feel really good about, even with the renovation, a lot of buyers now are okay and happy to kind of take on that project.
Wow.
Alexander, you mentioned co-ops. I'm wondering, from your seat, right? You see things across the price points. So you see different buildings at different price points, and usually, you talk about the 50% down co-ops that are requiring, like 5 times the purchase price in cash after the transaction.
Yeah.
Are you seeing any movement in terms of the co-op's acceptance and what they're looking for, or renovation rules? Are they starting to become a little bit more flexible, or are we still dealing with that same co-op monolith that's been just sort of heavy going for a long time?
No, absolutely. A lot of the buildings that were all cash have now gone anywhere from allowing 50 to 70% financing, more 50 than 70, which is great. A lot of them now don't tell you, hey, we want 5 times liquid post closing. They say, look, use your best judgment. And depending on the building, what they really are looking for. Kind of have to read between the lines, or just know the building from experience, which is also why it's really difficult for newer agents to break into that co-op market, because a lot of it is about what you know about these buildings and who you know in the buildings. And then a lot of the buildings that had summer work rules have gotten rid of those. So now they're allowing renovations either the full year or most of the year, which again makes a big difference, because a lot of times in those buildings, you go to buy something that's, a total gut renovation. You're lucky if you move in 3 to 4 years. Now, you slash that in half, sometimes even less. So that makes it more appealing because, one, you have to buy the apartment, renovate it, and carry the other place you're living in. And the other thing is you have to deal with, a 4-year renovation versus a 1-year renovation. And a lot of people, they just don't want the stress of it and the financial aspect of it. So I think that a lot of the co-ops also want to increase value for the shareholders. So that whole segment of the market has been changing over the last couple of years.
I'm so glad you brought up the agent experience, right? Which is, you go through these transactions and you have a sort of a natural understanding of what every co-op might be looking for, which is totally different than what condo buildings are looking for and their right of first refusal. And I'm wondering, with that sort of in the background, what kind of tips or strategic growth advice would you give to the newer agents or those trying to up their game?
Yeah, so, you can't beat experience. For the new agents, if you could find a mentor or a team that you could work for, or it's someone that could teach you the business, that's been doing it for a long time, that will save you so much time to getting your career to a great level. Very important. And then the standard tips of, it's a lot of, this is really for new agents. It's a lot of hours. If you want to make it to like the top of the real estate brokerage business, you have to, for at least, in my opinion, and people could disagree, 3 to 5 years, your whole life has to basically be this job, 7 days a week, You're always on call. See as many properties as you can, learn the business. Again, when you're working for someone, even if you're in an office and you're kind of just around people doing these deals and you're hearing phone calls and conversations, just from that alone, you're really learning so much.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead, Noah.
No, I was just gonna say that I feel like this is one of those businesses where, that first year or two, there's a lot, 70-80% of agents won't make it past that first year or two.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's because there's an instant gratification. You gotta put that grind in. And if it doesn't come, then it's like, all right, this didn't work. Let me move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, even the first year, a lot of people get discouraged even after the first year. Sometimes it takes a few years, not to, do your first transaction, but to really start making, a decent amount of money. Even if you're really good and you learn the business and all the comps and all the buildings and everything like that, you still need that experience and you need time to, build your business. It's New York City. Everybody knows a broker. A lot of people come in like, hey, my friends are all going to use me, but your friends know 5 other brokers who've been doing this for, 10, 20, 30 years. So it definitely takes some time and a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think a lot of folks get into this because they think that there's some sort of lifestyle of the real estate agent, which is like you get Saturdays off, you don't work a lot during the week, you show up at a couple open houses on Sunday, and you make a ton of money. And you're absolutely right. It is a massive, massive grind for the first several years. I mean, it's the same thing like investment banking, right? You were on the clock, answering phone, answering emails, replying 24 hours a day. I mean, it's nuts. But you are absorbing so much just by simply seeing thousands of properties and talking with all kinds of crazy people about what is it they want, what are they looking for. I mean, it's really that boots on the ground. There is no substitute for that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and the hardest part is, whatever brokerage you come to, it's day one. You come in, you sit down. Okay, now what? It's not like even in investment banking. Let's just say they're like, okay, here is what you do today. Here, you're working on this, you're doing that. Build this model out. In real estate, it's like, okay, what do I do? Do I pick up the phone and start calling, my network of people, tell them I'm in the business? I mean, there's a lot of things to do, but you have to just really be, motivated to do it yourself. And when things are not happening, it's really hard sometimes to get in there and be motivated. So again, the team aspect helps because you get lucky. Someone puts you on a listing, or you're just doing showings, or you're doing open houses. You're learning. It's something to do. You get lucky. They'll pay you something. If you're at a good team, they'll pay you something for, a deal that closed, or even just they'll pay you maybe for just doing the open house. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and you have to really want to do it. And like I said, it's really hard to do it a lot of times when nothing is happening, but you still have to wake up and force yourself to go in and keep grinding.
Yeah, you got to keep yourself active. I always felt like if you find yourself with 4 or 5 hours a day with not much to do, align yourself with someone, that you could work. I mean, create the team. I mean, if you're even a mediocre level, right, and you're still trying to get to higher, join up with another mediocre person. Maybe you could create something. Maybe 1 + 1 = 3, right? Or find that team that gets you that extra listing. Now you can recycle all those buyers that are coming through the listing. Maybe you get a couple of deals there. You work on the other side of the tape. Yeah, it's a tough business.
Yeah,
it's like a tough business.
I've been doing this for close to 13 years. And it's probably wrong, but I still work pretty much 7 days a week, always glued to my phone. I feel guilt if my clients reach out to me. I don't get back to them within 10 minutes. And it's good, but it's also not good. But, and when people ask for advice, I just kind of tell them, listen, maybe that's have to be like that after a decade, but your first couple of years, that's how dedicated you have to be. Because like you mentioned, people see, social media and TV shows, and it looks very glamorous and easy, but they don't show you the hard work.
Hey, New Yorkers hate radio silence. All right. You gotta be moving. Otherwise, just get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
Don't take your jolly ass time walking down the street. People got places to be over here.
Absolutely.
So I think it's the nature of the business that you're in. And you know what? This has been great just to hear a little bit about what you're seeing out there and sharing that with us. John, do you have any final questions for Alexander here?
No, I would simply say appreciate your thoughts, Alexander. And I would say for every agent listing, I think the first thing you really should do when you sit down, you walk in that brokerage office is log on to UrbanDigs and go ahead and subscribe. Try it free for 2 weeks. I can't resist a plug.
Shameless plug. Thank you, John Walker. Well, Alexander, this has been fantastic. I appreciate your time. Alexander Boriskin over at Elliman, top producer, over $2 billion in sales, telling it like it is on Talking Manhattan. I appreciate that. Thank you, John Walker. Thank you, Alexander. I am Noah Rosenblatt. This has been Talking Manhattan. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you.